Hello, everybody. Welcome back again to another episode of Condense Streams. Today, we're joined with Hanna, who is the global GTM head at Bosch Mobility Platform and Solutions. Thank you so much, Hanna, for joining us today. Pleasure to have you here.
Pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
So we were hoping to pick your brains on a few things, and perhaps also highlight to our viewers our recent collaboration and what the near future holds for customers and the ecosystem as a whole, and how we plan to be a part of it going forward. So to start off, the mobility industry has been moving from very hardware-centric to more software-centered ecosystems. And at Bosch MPS, we've been speaking about mobility without its side effects, so to say. How is digital orchestration becoming a primary tool to achieve this? And how do you think our collaboration could aid in achieving this?
So from our perspective, how we look at mobility is that there are a huge number of challenges which remain unsolved today. And of course, you can look at them as solving them with hardware only, but what we see as emerging is that software and data are instrumental if we want to solve the still remaining challenges in supply chain and mobility and in logistics. Now, that is why our vision is to create mobility without side effects. So in an ideal world, we don't have congestion, we don't have environmental impact, we have safer mobility, and we can all travel with people and goods without any constraint on the road. This is what we want to achieve from a visionary standpoint. If you look at the digital and data aspects, there has been a tremendous development and opportunity, and with AI coming in, that even multiplies. On the other hand, there are still problems to be solved related to fragmented data, to data silos, and how we can better do that together. And this is how Bosch MPS and Condense have come together to solve the remaining challenges in mobility more from a technical system of intelligence and system of record standpoint.
I think that pretty much echoes what I wanted to say as well. I think data is absolutely central to achieving any goals, at least going forward. I think hardware, to whatever extent, has saturated in its capabilities. Obviously, there's plenty of growth on that front as well. But software is really what is going to drive outcomes. Is what we believe at Zeliot. So that being said, Hanna, what do you see as the biggest operational risk when firms try to build their own connected ecosystems grounds up internally, as compared to going to a specialized tool for their requirements?
So first of all, I have to say there are many innovative companies who are bound to solve the unsolved challenges in mobility with digital solutions, with tech, and that is great by itself. However, on ground reality, what we've been seeing in our customer and partner ecosystem is that there are limits to doing that when we look at the engineering teams. Now, what happens is there is a hidden cost of maintenance to designing any digital solution. And then most teams also start with generic data and streaming stacks, and that can lead to certain limitations when you start scaling. So Yoshi, maybe you can also share on how Condense is looking at exactly that aspect in a different way.
Right. So our primary objective from an outcomes perspective is to enable our customers to target their engineering efforts more towards actual outcomes, that's building efficiency, ensuring safety, and so on, rather than focusing on engineering or day-to-day activities like managing Kafka. That is something that we think our customer teams should not be occupied doing. And we believe that that's where we can step in, provide industry specialization, understand specific industry data norms, and assist our customers in managing infrastructure, so that their outcomes become more aligned to business achievements rather than just infrastructure or engineering efforts. And I think that's why we've seen the kind of acceptance that we have within the mobility space specifically. So coming to our collaboration between Bosch and Condense, From a GTM perspective, what makes you at Bosch believe that Condense is the right architectural foundation to scale across various diverse and regulated markets across the world?
So when we looked at mobility from a digital platform perspective, we realized that what is available from a technology standpoint is mostly generic.
Yeah.
So we really saw an opportunity to create a verticalized data streaming stack together with Condense, because that will help solving the challenges in digital mobility and logistics, specifically for that industry. And that is something nobody else has done before. And that's the foundation for our collaboration. And I have to say there is a huge opportunity space for both of us to grow an ecosystem around verticalized data streaming in mobility.
And I think our joint ethos when it comes to data streaming is that of having operational simplicity, where you have an offering that is end-to-end in nature, and where you don't have to manage multiple different applications or softwares to achieve your goals, and have it all on a singular platform. That is something that we've personally seen as fairly critical, and that's how we wish to service our customers. And I think that's something we have aligned on fairly clearly and fairly early on.
Absolutely. So operational simplicity is core to any digital solution provider if they want to scale big and also scale globally. And that is something we can enable from a digital stack perspective.
Right. Another thing that we've seen is that there's plenty of data floating around. I think there's an abundance of data, so to say, today. But to actually analyze data and get intelligence out of data is the next frontier. I feel like the abundance of data is a problem that is now solved, or perhaps has been solved over the better part of the last decade. Going forward, we need to ensure that data is being used in the most optimal and in the most resourceful way by data consumers, which is where the CTF is something that we built internally, the custom transforms framework, which is a core pillar to Condense. How does this ability of ours to embed business logic directly into the stream change the value proposition that you offer to your customers?
That's a very good question. So first of all, I totally agree with what you're observing. Data is abundantly available. There is no industry challenge in lack of data. The industry challenge is turning that data into intelligence, into meaningful insights, and into actionable recommendations for customers to take action upon. And that is what we are jointly doing together. So the intention is not to move data. The intention is to move intelligence. How are we doing that? What we have created together is a transforms approach. So what does transforms mean? You can think of it very simplified as a way to turn meaningless data into insights. In a very simplified way, you can think of it as an AI model which customers can use to help them build their IP much faster. So giving you specific examples, we have done transforms for vehicle load data. We've done it for vehicle health and predictive maintenance, and also for driver loads. So what does it mean? We have now the ability with transforms to give customers access to a pre-built data insight, which they can again use to create their own IP based on our models. And that will help customers to create faster innovations. It'll reduce their time to market, and then ultimately, of course, lower their costs.
And most interestingly, our CTF is on the built-in IDE or the developer environment, where you have a unified interface to actually manage your transforms instead of having to re-engineer and having to re-architect the entire pipeline every time you would want to make changes. Yeah, that continues to be a core pillar, one of the core pillars of our offering. Another core pillar is our BYOC offering, where we host a solution or a platform on customer clouds, ensuring data sovereignty and so on. I think data privacy and sovereignty is is becoming a bare minimum going forward. A lot of governmental interference as well to ensure that we have maximum data privacy and the rightful owners of data have access to their data and so on and so forth. How central is this when you speak to your customers? How central is the whole BYOC model? Is it a massive differentiator?
So from our perspective, the customer always has to have a choice. Giving the customer the opportunity to deploy on whatever environment the customer prefers is absolutely necessary. And then I can echo what you have said about data sovereignty. That's a huge topic, especially in Europe. But it is also emerging in the North American region and in India. So I'm hearing this from customers across the globe, specifically in Europe. So why am I saying that? Because if customers opt for data sovereignty, it's very important for them to be able to host solutions on their own environment, on their own cloud.
Yeah.
And that is why, from a data streaming perspective, for us it was important to say we have to be able to enable a model which is bring your own cloud, and that is, in my perspective, a key differentiator when it comes to customer choice.
Yeah, I think that one's a non-negotiable for sure. Coming to what the future holds for us, I think we've collaborated for a fair few years now and hope to collaborate for many more. How does this collaboration between your deep mobility expertise and our data streaming DNA, how do you expect it to redefine what connected mobility might look like in the near future, especially in the next 5 years before 2030?
So I think nobody will know how the world will look like in 5 years. I want to stay honest here. I can talk about what we aim to do and how, as Bosch Mobility Platforms, we look at the future and our play here. And first of all, we are not set for building solutions. We are set for building a platform ecosystem. And we're doing this with strategic partners such as Condense and Zeliot together because we believe in a partner-first approach here. We will not be able to solve all the problems in the world on our own. And that is the entire spirit and philosophy which we have been taking. I believe that will take us very strongly into the future because the technology and AI will enable us to solve the coordination challenge. And if you ask me, for the next 5 years, this is what we will all see emerging. We will not talk about data fragmentation in 5 years from now. We will talk about AI has solved the coordination problem in mobility. And I believe that Bosch MPS and Condense are very well set in that play, driving that forward and playing a crucial role.
Yeah, I think collaboration is the name of the game. Tier 1 leaders like yourself and deep tech innovators like ourselves can co-create, and that's how we see the ecosystem progressing over the next 4 or 5 years. Thank you so much, Hanna, for taking time out to be with us here today. And we hope to have you back here with us very soon and hopefully have more to talk to you about by then.
Thank you, Yashi, for having me. It was great to be here and really looking forward to growing that platform together.
Lovely. Bye.